If I walk into your gig in the middle of your solo and you're playing over a blues and you're soloing, I need to know which blues you're playing just by what you play in your solo. Hello everyone, welcome to another video tutorial that's going to help you improve your improvisation skills and become a better musician. In this video, I want to talk about something that I learned back when I was at Berklee College of Music, and I took an amazing elective lesson that was called Thematic Development for Improvisation and Composition. My teacher was Rick DiMuzio, an amazing sax player, and I learned so many little things on that lesson and that class that just stuck with me over the years. It was all about musicality and playing and composing in more musical ways using thematic development, rhythms, shapes, and it clicked so much with me, and I made my whole method about really not just learning 1,000 scales, licks, and patterns, which is what most students do, but actually taking the time to understand the simple musical elements that will allow you to play more musical phrases, so that when you improvise, you don't just sound like a run of scales and memorized patterns, because that was my case. When I was starting out, I memorized so many licks that my solo sounded like a library or a compilation of licks. It was pretty boring. It took me a while to find out and discover my own personal sound, because I just memorized stuff, so I just sounded like a little bit of everyone else. It wasn't until I really started understanding the simple elements like rhythmic vocabulary, shapes, and really deconstructing all of this in ways that I could actually find my own voice. And this class that I took had one of the biggest impacts in my musicianship. And today I want to talk about one of the little things that I learned in that class that stuck with me, and it was one of the most amazing practices that from that day I started applying over all of the songs that I played, and it was really, really great. And it's about playing the rhythms of the melody that of the tune you're playing, and use those rhythms to play them in your solo. As a musical practice, you grab only the rhythmic part of any melody that you're playing, any tune, any standard, and then you learn how to detach that rhythm so that you can sing the rhythm of how you're playing the melody. Be very precise and accurate with the rhythm is really important. I have another video where I talk about the importance of expanding your rhythmic vocabulary and constantly sing the rhythms in order to gain accuracy, which is a crucial thing. So constantly singing, right? So, and I show you on that video how to extract rhythmic phrases from your favorite solos, and not just the notes, but actually be able to detach the rhythm and sing them. The exact same way I would do this over the actual melody. You know, so many famous melodies. If we don't even have to talk about jazz. Let's talk about very emblematic melodies, right? Like the Indiana Jones or Star Wars themes, right? Da 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 da, ba ba da, ba ba do ba, ba ba do boo ba. Take the rhythm away, and it's just a major scale or a random combination of notes, right? It's the rhythm that makes that melody so special. And of course, the intervallic decisions and the shapes. But the rhythm comes first. For anything to sound musical, for anything to sound like anything worth listening, you need to start with an effective rhythm. Even if you're just playing a bunch of eighth notes, right? Or a very long let's say a phrase with a lot of dexterity, you still need to be really precise with your eighth note. So rhythm is everything, really. And this is the number one thing I see on students, and that I had problems with at the beginning, because nobody really teaches us rhythm. We, as sax players especially, we're taught about scales and keep practicing your scales, memorize licks, patterns, and then we go through the years with bad rhythm or bad articulation. We don't even notice it until we start improvising, and all of a sudden you're just uncomfortable. You feel like your phrases are all over the place. That's exactly the feeling that you get from lack of a good rhythmic vocabulary and an accurate rhythmic language, okay? Because some people, they would even transcribe and be able to sing rhythms, but after like 10 seconds, the rhythms are already all messed up. So accuracy is really important. This is why I'm a fan of repetition, and don't be scared of singing the rhythm 1,000 times. Really sing it. You can do this without your horn as well. Just sing rhythms constantly, and it's going to be so much easier to infuse those rhythms you're playing to scales and put them on anywhere, right? Once you sing them. So the concept that I want to talk about today is do this, but with the rhythm of the melody. And we're gonna grab two melodies today. I'm gonna do There Will Never Be Another You and Blue Bossa. Very traditional jazz standard and a bossa nova that have very characteristical rhythms. And I'm gonna use the rhythm of the melody, specifically of how I'm gonna play it. And I'm gonna show you how you can improvise using that. You can combine scales, chord tones, but what's gonna happen and what you're gonna notice is the rhythm of the melody will actually naturally inspire you to play certain shapes that you wouldn't play otherwise. Because a lot of times we start soloing and we ditch the tune, right? And this is a big problem with jazz as well, and jazz players, especially the typical college student. We use the tune as an excuse to improvise, and I guess that's kind of okay in certain instances, but I certainly don't believe so. I think that if you're playing a song, a very specific song, you need to hint that song in your solo. People need to know that you're playing that song. And this goes back to how I started this video, which is one quote from Rick DiMuzio. I think another teacher told it to him, and then he told it to me. It's like, I need to be able to stop by in the middle of your gig while you're playing a solo, and it's the middle of your solo, you're playing over a blues, and I need to know within a chorus or two that you're playing Billy's Bounce and not Straight No Chaser. I need to know if you're playing a famous blues, right? I need to know which one it is by how you play. And even though that's a little exaggerated, that stuck with me for so long. That phrase is like, wow, that makes so much sense. If I just want to play over a blues, then who cares about the melody? Let's just start and I improvise over a blues. But if you're playing a tune, play the tune. If you're improvising over a specific song, you need to hint certain things about the song. I feel like that's very important, right? The master of this was Sonny Rollins to me. You can always know what tune he's playing. He's always referencing rhythmically the tune. And I love that about his playing. Joe Henderson did that a lot. It just adds another layer of thematic development. Without you having to play anything too complicated, it just adds more musical depth to your playing rather than just start your run of 8 notes and memorize licks. This is something great that you can practice every time that you're playing over a tune. All right, so I'm gonna start with There Will Never Be Another You, okay? And we're gonna check out the melody, and one very important thing about this kind of tunes that are real book based is you need to really identify and explore different versions of great players to see which one you like, because the real book melodies are written like, it's just terrible. A bunch of quarter notes. There Will Never Be Another You. It's literally written like this. Just a bunch of quarter notes, so it's really terrible. Nobody plays it like that. Nobody. If you hear all of the versions, they add their own sort of rhythmic vibe to it, and that's a cool thing about jazz. Melodies are actually played differently as well. Some of them that are more sophisticated, they have to keep it the same. If you play Billy's Bounce, there's not a lot you can do with it. But tunes like There Will Never Be Another You, like There's No Greater Love, you can manipulate rhythmically and do different things with the melody. Right? So you have to identify a version or a few versions that you like. And then here's the number one thing, and nobody thinks about this, and I see my students never thinking about this, is how do you personally want to play that melody? How can you make that melody sound like you? Before you get to the solo, you need to already be sounding like yourself while playing the melody. Okay, this is why I love actually doing this kind of thing with ballads, because it's slower and you get to really put all your sound and feeling to it and your soul. But you can do this with any tune you're playing. How can you make it sound like yourself just by playing the melody? It doesn't take me more than 2 notes to recognize that Dexter Gordon is, if I put a record of him, just 2 notes, I already know it's him. By the sound and how he plays and phrases. Ben Webster, Michael Brecker. Really, if you think about this, amazing players with such a characteristical sound, you don't need to hear more than 3 notes and you know it's them. That's the goal for anyone. I feel as a saxophone player, I want to have a very recognizable sound that is just mine. And the melodies are a great way to explore that. How do you want to play the melody? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the melody of There Will Never Be Another You. I'm going to play quickly my favorite version of Dexter Gordon, who plays the melody in the... I remember listening to this track when I was starting out playing jazz, and I loved how he played it. Just the melody, and his solo is freaking amazing, but just pay attention to how he plays the melody, and then you feel free to find the version that you like of any tune that you're doing. You need to at least... And for any tune that you want to play properly, at least listen to 5 versions, all right? 2 or 3 of them with your main instrument. So find, if you're a sax player, find 3 awesome sax players that are playing that melody. You can literally go to YouTube, put the name of the song, and then your favorite sax player to see if he actually played it at some point. And he might have, if it's a known standard. And then 2 or 3 other versions with other instruments, like a piano player, a trumpet player, just so that you can see what color they add and how they play the melody. I've gotten a lot from players like Bill Evans, pianists. You don't only have to stick with transcribing sax players, okay? That's a big mistake. If you're a sax player, listen to pianists, listen to trumpet players. I love listening to trumpet players because they lack some dexterity that is easier in the saxophone. Sometimes their phrases are more precise. So definitely when you play a tune, anything that you want to learn, listen to at least 5 versions, internalize them, pick your favorites. This is mine, There Will Never Be Another You. So he definitely doesn't play like the real book, right? He plays it in a beautiful rhythmical way. Let's just listen to the melody quickly. Pay attention to the rhythm. Fantastic. What a beautiful way to play a melody. Super nice, medium up tempo, and it's so rhythmical. So the thing I would do here is identify, I love that version, and I would just sing the rhythms of how he plays it. I don't just go to my saxophone and play it, okay? This is very crucial. So hear me out. Listen to what I want to do right now. I want to play the first 4 bars. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba, ba-da-ba. Detach the rhythm. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba, ba-da-ba. Right? Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba, ba-da-ba. Then I would play that melody like that, but also understand the rhythm by itself. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba, ba-da-ba. Because that's what you're gonna play on your solo. You're gonna base it on the rhythm. Right? So let's check out the first 8 measures. We have 4 now, okay? Great. Want to repeat again. Just that. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba, ba-da-ba. Ba, ba-do-ba, ba, 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 ba-da-ba. Such a beautiful way to play the melody. Just stick with those 8 measures right now, right? I'm gonna play the melody. He actually puts more notes there because that's not the original melody. The original melody just does. Such a beautiful musical way to play the melody, adding a few notes there, right? So those rhythms are fantastic. I'm gonna sing them. Ba-da, ba-da, ba, 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 ba. Again, 1, 2, 3. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do, ba, 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 ba-do, ba, 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 ba. Again. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do, ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, do, ba, 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 ba. And again. ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba-bu-da-ba, ba-ba-do-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-bu-da-ba. Now, by the third time, I was really absorbing the rhythm. That's the process, and you do that 15 times if you need to. I recommend you really do this. Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it, until there's a point where it stops being on your mouth and the rhythm is internalized. That's when you absorbed and developed your rhythmic vocabulary. If you don't do this, then believe me, doesn't matter how many scales, how many chords, how many devices you learn, it's gonna be so hard to sound musical. Go back to rhythmic language and you can make anything sound musical, even a simple major scale, right? So the concept here is I'm not going to play the entire melody. You got the gist of how I'm extracting and playing the melody like he plays it, right? And then of course, once I do that, I'll figure out how do I want to play it. So I want to play it very similar to how he's doing it, but I will change now the rhythms a little bit maybe. Just figure out how you want to play it. I'm just teaching you how you can extract the rhythmic performance of your favorite players, in my case Dexter here, but you can definitely now modify it and see how you want to play the melody. In my case, I'll play it very similar. Right? So I can change it a little bit rhythmically. Usually, when I change things up, it's because of my rhythmic vocabulary that I'm able to transform something instantly on the spot. It's so much harder to make instant variations of things you've heard if you don't have a good rhythmic language. But if you do, it's so easy because you just simply kind of break up the rhythm, put more notes, less notes, or displace the phrase on different. You just place it differently, right? But that only can be done with a good rhythmic vocabulary, right? So now once you do that, now you can go to the chord changes. Don't make it too complicated, right? Just what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab the rhythm of the melody. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-do-ba, ba-bu-da-ba. I'm gonna use that one, the Dexter one. Ba-da, ba-do, ba-do-ba, ba-bu-da-ba. And then go to the first four measures. You can mess around basic chord inversions, chord tones, even scales, but you're gonna let the rhythm guide you, right? And play. Forget about the shape of the melody. Now you're going to play different shapes, but you're going to use the rhythm. So it could be even vocally. Right? You see that? I just used the exact same rhythm of the first 8 measures of how Dexter played the melody, but I went around the chord tones. And in fact, the fact that I'm using the melody just makes me play, repeat certain things and make it more musical. The rhythm will guide your musicality. If you just mumble around, yeah, cool, you got all the bebop, but what's going to connect? If you do this, it's such a great musical exercise. I'm not saying you're going to use this in your solo, actually. You can, and I encourage you to do it. But by doing this exercise, it unlocks musicality. It really makes you understand how the simple melody, by playing the rhythm of the melody and putting other notes, you unlock a beautiful motivic musicality. This is what classical composers did all the time. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, he uses the exact same initial rhythms, the ta-ta-ta-tan, ta-ta-ta-tan. He uses those rhythms on the entire symphony, on the 4 movements. In different ways, he slows it down. Of course, completely different harmonic context, but that rhythm is constantly used. Classical composers master this. Bach as well. It's such an easy way to sound motivic. Grab a rhythm that people identify because it's the most primitive thing people feel, it's rhythm, and repeat it at different points. In fact, when I teach my students how to write your solos, and I do this when I'm writing a solo, I would instantly grab a rhythm at the beginning that I know is cool and try to just copy and paste it at different parts of my solo. Before I write the solo, I would just grab a rhythm that I know I want to repeat at different spots and randomly repeat it like 10 times. And then I would write my solo, and whenever I hit that rhythm, I would play a cool phrase, like figure out the notes and the shapes. But when that rhythm shows up, you're like, oh shoot, identify it, right? The ear identifies, connects, and the rhythm connects your solo better than anything else, right? So this is a whole process of really expanding your rhythmic vocabulary. It takes years, but you can start right away, and you can see the effect in your playing very fast if you sing and sing and sing. I say this a lot because I tell my students that 60% of my musical improvement, especially as an improviser, came without my horn. I know it sounds like crazy, but it really is, because when I started singing rhythms without my horn around and writing my solos, writing my phrases, then when I actually grabbed my horn, a lot of things showed up more naturally and more effectively because I had worked on writing my phrases, internalizing rhythm. So when you grab your horn, then a lot of things show up because you can train musicality. There's a big mistake that people think you need your instrument in order to practice music. You need it, sure, for like half of the time and maybe a little more, but there's a lot you can do without it. And I love this because I teach it a lot to people that are busy and have busy lives and 9-to-5 jobs where they can't actually practice that much. You can still do a lot without your instrument. That way, when you go to your instrument, imagine if you train your rhythmic language, which is what happened to me. I trained it so much singing. I was walking, driving, listening to rhythms and singing them back. And when I went and played a simple research that I already know, like a scale, all of a sudden I played new phrases that were coming up that I never played before, just because of the rhythms that I was singing. They were naturally coming up in my playing without even me actually implementing them purposely. Then I realized the magic, so then I started doing the implementations. Like, okay, now I'm gonna sing it and actually consciously implement the rhythm. So now let's go back to the song, There Will Never Be Another You, and what I'm gonna do is just focus on the first 8 measures. I'm gonna play the melody like Dexter plays it, and then, let me do that first. And now I'm gonna go back, do the same 8 measures, the same rhythm, but I'm gonna improvise. Over the chords, I'm gonna be playing around the chord tones and scales, basic stuff, but I'm gonna use exactly that rhythm. Now I'm gonna go back and do it again, try to play something different. And then what's going to happen is the more you do this, you're naturally going to feel like changing it a little bit, and that's totally fine, but I'm focusing on that main rhythm. And because of that, now what I'm going to do now over a track is I'm going to play the entire tune as I would play it. I'm going to put the lead sheet so you can see it, but I'm going to, of course, play completely different rhythms. I'll be based on the one from Dexter, but what I'm going to do is I'll play it my way, and I'm going to use almost the same rhythms that I'm playing and using for the melody for my solo. Now, it doesn't have to be 100%, but if you really grab most of those rhythms and maybe change them a little bit, they will sound connected, okay? So I'm gonna do that, but pay attention to how I play the melody, and then identify rhythmically how I play the melody, and then pay attention to the solo. What I'm gonna do is, I'm not gonna do it so strictly, so for a few measures I might drop and get away from that and then come back. Okay, so you're gonna hear how I'm basing my solo on the rhythm of the melody of how I played it. Then I'll leave for a little bit and play around the chords, come back to it, and that's even more impactful because when I do come back to it, you're gonna hear that sound. That's like gonna be, oh, that's so beautiful and so musical. Okay, so here we go. So you see how musical that can sound. Of course, I really try to basically play that rhythm of the melody. But the idea here is that you can use this maybe just a bit here and a bit there, a little bit on your first chorus, and then your second chorus, you can hint a little bit of the rhythm of the melody. But didn't you realize, even though I was not playing the exact notes of the melodies, you could hear that connection? Just makes it motivic and musical. And what I personally like about this is once you get into all the jazz craziness and licks, and you're almost like a curse, because there was a point where I knew so many licks that I would just feel almost forced to play them at given points, because that's why I learned them. But when you stick with this for a second, it forces you to explore a more musical way of playing something. You can still target the chord notes. In fact, by playing the rhythm of the melody, certain devices are going to show up that maybe they wouldn't have. Like, for example, oh, I approach this note differently because of the rhythm. Or I end up doing this little jump. Or something musical comes up that you didn't think about, or that it probably wouldn't come up by its own, right? So that's what I love about this. Now let's quickly do Blue Bossa. So that's a pretty simple one that everybody knows how to play. And this one has a kind of a more established rhythm, right? So now you grab that exact rhythm, and now I'm going to try to improvise using that rhythm. This one is a little more straightforward. Most people play it in the same way. It's not like I wanted to show you There Will Never Be Another You first, because that's something where it can be, you can interpret the melody in so many different ways. But because you play the melody in a certain way and then you solo very closely to how you play it, you're almost like making the tune yours, because you played it a certain way, you played the melody a specific way, and now you're soloing, quoting the way you play the melody. Now this one is a little more straightforward. So I'll play the melody, and then I'll just sing the rhythms. Make sure that before you do any of this, and even if you just want to play the melody properly, sing the rhythms. 1, 2, ba 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 boo ba 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 boo ba 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 da ba da ba ba boo ba da da ba boo da ba boo da ba ba. I purposely try to not sing it with pitches, because I'm going to detach that rhythm. If I sing the pitches, I'm going to be forced to play in the same direction and be too close to the melody. So when you work on rhythms like this, if the melody goes descending, try the same rhythm ascending and do something else, right? For example, ba 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 boo ba ba. I did something kind of different to the melody. The melody goes do ba da and then do ba ba boo ba 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 boo da. You can do opposite directions and shapes. Once you get good with the rhythm, the next step is thinking about shapes, and let the shapes kind of guide your fingers. Of course, you need to be good with the chords for that. But this is why in my other video, you're going to see I start with basic scales. Just grab one scale and see if you can attach rhythms like this one. In fact, if you have a hard time applying this to the chord progression, grab the rhythm from Blue Bossa and just use it over a simple C major scale until you get the concept and the vibe of grabbing a rhythm and using it over something else. At the beginning, it's kind of uncomfortable and weird because you're forced to play it like the melody you heard. But when you detach the rhythm can become an amazing musical tool that you can use elsewhere, anywhere else, and have that connectivity and that musicality, right? So let's do it. I'm going to play, now you know the whole concept, I'll play here over Blue Bossa. I'll put a play along. I'll play one chorus of the melody, and then pay attention to my solo. It's all going to be based on playing the exact same rhythms of the melody. I'll step away here and there, but I'm going to mainly be playing that. So check it out. very simple concept, but it sounds very motivic. As soon as I force myself to play the rhythm of the melody, instantly a good and connected phrase comes out. Even though sometimes I might think like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do something more complicated. But by pushing myself to do that, something very musical sound. In fact, I encourage you to record it, because sometimes when you're playing and soloing, you don't really hear yourself. So something that has allowed me to improve so much in my career is really constantly recording. I think I've recorded at least 1 or 2 things every single week for the past 7 years of my life. Maybe not when I'm like traveling or something, but pretty much constantly. You know, there's weeks where I record, like today, just to do this video, recorded these 2 things, right? So I constantly record, pay attention to my sound, pay attention to my phrasing, my articulation. Honestly, if you record yourself constantly with a good setup, like I'm using, you know, my Rode Ribbon mic and my Apollo Twin, it's not super expensive, but it's just a setup that gets me a very good sound. By recording often, you will become your best teacher. This is really how I've been able to improve my sound. I constantly hear myself, and I'm trying to get, oh, wait, that sounded like not as thick as I wanted, or that sounded like a little too sharp, or the phrasing is not proper. Sometimes you play something and you don't hear it properly as you play it, but then you hear it back and sometimes it sounds amazing, or the opposite. You heard something that was good but wasn't. So recording is crucial. And when you do this kind of exercises, I encourage you to do that, because, for example, right now I'm going to listen back, and sometimes you'll be amazed by, oh, I kept it simple and I actually sounded better, right? A lot of times you feel you have to fill up the notes. And I actually think I still am in that boat where the notes want to show up all the time, you know, especially when you gain technique and you gain vocabulary, there's a natural tendency to overplay and want to overplay. But I love rhythm because it's my teacher, and it forces me to play more musical and play less. When you really think about rhythm and you start internalizing rhythms, instead of going right, singing things like that, you end up playing phrases that are a lot more musical, and then you can put all the other stuff that you like around it, but making rhythm that sort of main thing that lets your solo sound musical. You know, this is actually more of a composition. I'm a composer. That's what I studied. And be ready, I'm going to post some composition and arranging videos soon as well. But this is so powerful when you're like sit down and you have no ideas. You want to eliminate writer's block. I actually have a training part of my Jazz Improvisation Mastery System course where I show you exactly how you can just write a basic rhythmic phrase and from there build entire phrases and solos that sound great and cohesive, right? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it and you found it valuable, please make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified every time I post a new video. I'm posting a new educational video like this every single Tuesday and sometimes also Thursdays. Really depends on the week, but at least every week I'm posting new content. So leave in the comments what kind of videos would you like to see next? What kind of topics do you want to talk about? I'll be posting about improvisation, composition, arranging, rhythm, chord tones, just about everything that's going to allow you to become a better improviser and composer and arranger, musician. So leave in the comments what you'd like to see next. And if you like what you saw today and you want my full system on becoming an awesome improviser, then I've left on the description a link to my Jazz Improvisation Mastery System, which right now it's an amazing school community on School, the platform, where students are joining every single day, and I have all my step-by-step framework on how to become an amazing improviser, deconstruct chords, build your rhythmic vocabulary, write your solos, just everything is there, and I constantly update it. So by the time you're seeing this video, the course is already amazing and it will keep growing. So just go to the description. There's a link to my Jazz Improvisation Mastery System online course, which also comes with a school community. You'll be able to join the community and get all of the updates, and we're doing every month we're doing live coaching calls as well, so you'll be able to access all of that. So just go check out the link if you like this video. I'm absolutely certain that that course will transform the way you play if you apply everything that's in there. So thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.